Fresh from the showcase here at SwissWatchExpo, I have a ton of awesome Rolexes in front of me that I'm very excited to share with you. The thing that makes these watches all unique is something that I think is so cool about Rolex, and that is their use of stone dials, particularly in their dressier models. I think this is one of the great things about Rolex, and one of the times when a very conservative brand very much lets their hair down in a way, especially considering these are all Presidents and Datejust, very traditional pieces. They've sort of set the standard for luxury Swiss watchmaking, and in a lot of ways they haven't deviated very far from that. But when they experiment with these really unique stone and mineral dials, they look so incredibly bright, so incredibly unique, and these are all going to be very rare finds. So if you put one of these on your wrist, you are not going to be bumping into anyone else at a party that has one of these on. They make a ton of varieties of stone and mineral dials, and we have a few but not all examples of them here, but definitely enough to give you a pretty wide range of what they have to offer. The first one I want to show you is one of the more minimalist designs, but I think it is perhaps the coolest, and that is their use of the Onyx dial. We actually have two here. Onyx is a mineral in the quartz family, I believe, and it's very incredible because of just how flat and matte it is. This is a very minimalist design, and Rolex takes advantage of that in the way they design their dials. We have two here. We have a beautiful ladies on a two-tone oyster bracelet in white onyx, and then we have the men's version in black onyx. And you'll notice here, devoid of markers on this dial. They do have the Rolex crown at 12, the date at 3, and then the 6 and 9 with a very small diamond in the circle of those numbers. And they do that because the color of this onyx, regardless of which color you get in, the shade and the boldness of it is something that really shines through, and they want the dial to reflect that. They don't put diamonds across all the markers. They don't even put numbers everywhere. They want a ton of negative space here for you to look at how beautiful this dial is, and it definitely is. The black is a little more common than the white. This is one of the first ones I've seen, but this is so incredibly sharp. As you can tell here, this absolutely pops on the wrist, and this is something people are going to notice from a mile away. And even if they think they know Rolex, they'll still be very surprised to see this on your wrist. So whether you go black or white, men's or ladies, this is a really great introduction to Rolex stone dials, and it's one of the best examples that they make. Another one where we get into a little bit more of a rare territory is going to be, let's see, it'll be actually this dial right here, which is a blue lapis dial. This here is on the ladies' watch, this one here on my left. And this is a lot much of a brighter color. A lot like the Onyx, it is very flat looking, but still very bright. But you'll see here that they do utilize the diamond markers here. It's not quite so sharp that they want to leave a lot of negative space there. You do get the traditional diamond pattern on the dial with, all markers except for the crown at 12 and the date at 3. This is, of course, a 26mm ladies white gold President, and this is where you're going to find a lot of the stone dials. And the ladies Presidents is really where a lot of them come across, and this is a great example of someone who wants to add a very traditional watch to their collection, but with a little more pop, a little more flair on the dial than just a traditional color like a silver or a champagne or what have you. This other one I have here is one that's a little more unique and a little less bright. This is also in blue. It's called the Sodalite dial. And this is really interesting. One, not only is the dial interesting, you'll notice the bezel pattern with the 3 diamonds across the different edges here of the bezel. This is a very unique diamond construction that all comes straight from the Rolex factory, just like all of our diamond dials do. The Sodalite, you'll notice, has a lot more natural variation in it. This is not a flat, matted color, sort of like the Onyx is. Not quite as bright either, but this is one that looks most like an actual stone. This is where you're definitely getting a lot of the natural mineral shades and tones to it, and that's something that's great about these watches. Great about these stone dials that they make that's not just in the Onyx, but it's also in a little more traditional looking mineral colors. And of course, they made it really funky with this bezel too. I really think this is a fascinating watch. For the next one we have, this is going to be on a men's President, and this is another blue stone that definitely looks a lot like a mineral, definitely shows that you're getting a natural material here in this dial. And this is called Aventurine. This one is very rare. This is probably the first example I've ever seen come across my desk in my years here at SwissWatchExpo. And it is very classic looking color. This does lend itself well to a very traditional watch, even though it is kind of a funky pattern. It does have the gold Roman numeral markers here, so no diamonds, nothing with too much flash. This definitely looks like something that's a lot more traditional, and it's a little more subtle than the other dials that we've seen here, which also helps because this has a much larger dial, so it's not going to look quite as flashy if you had put something with, say, a brighter color or something like that. And then finally, we do have one more example. This is one that Rolex aficionados are probably a little bit more familiar with, and that is the Meteorite dial. That's right, we're talking about space stones here. This, of course, for those of you who don't know, is going to be the Meteorite from, I believe, Namibia, which is a single meteorite where they source all of their meteorite dials, and they have for years. I believe this is still in production. You can see these in a variety of watches. The one I have in my hand is a 26mm Datejust in two-tone rose gold. The rose gold, I think, looks fantastic against the different silver and gray colors that you get with this Meteorite dial. Another thing, this is in a variety of different watches. It comes in the men's Datejust recently, and this is a very rare, very expensive development, but they have added it to, I believe, a white gold GMT with a Pepsi bezel too. So if you're really looking to get your checkbook out and invest in a very unique, very special dial, that's a great one, but this is a fantastic one too. The Meteorite is like nothing else I've ever seen. You've got lines going in every which way, every which direction on this dial, and they're all different variations of silver, but it both looks light and metallic and yet very matted at the same time. You can really get lost in this one, and it's probably one of the most visually striking ones, and that's probably why amongst these unique stone Rolexes, the Meteorite dial is definitely the most famous. These are just a taste of all the amazing things Rolex is doing with minerals and stones in their dials. They've been doing them for years, but they're still so rare that a lot of Rolex aficionados don't even know about them. So if you get one on your wrist, you are bound to impress whoever lays their eyes upon it. So we got a ton of options, whether stone dials or something more traditional. We got hundreds of Rolexes in stock, and the perfect one is in here, ready to be shipped out to you. So like and subscribe this video if you haven't yet, and give us a call so we can put a watch on your wrist at SwissWatchExpo.com.